All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 19th, 2024 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I'm Commissioner Ozzie Parenti, and with us this evening,
Tom Tarenti. Paul Kaplan.
Jenny Bowser, Recording Secretary.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demerjen, zoning administrator.
all right, great. First item on our agenda is a review of the minutes from the November 6th, 2024 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look those over? Jenny, I had just one comment.
Yeah.
In the last full paragraph, 4 lines down,
Okay.
the line begins longer, have a need for it, comma, the special permit will be revoked on the land records. What I would add there, I'd say revoked, and then add, and notice of revocation will be recorded.
Okay, noted.
Special permit will be revoked, and notice of revocation will be recorded on the land records.
Got it.
And that's all I had. Anything else?
I had none.
Okay, then a motion to approve the,
Move to approve the November 6, 2024 minutes as amended.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. And Commissioner Tarenti abstains.
Correct.
All right. Next thing is review of the minutes of the special meeting we held on November 13th, 2024. That all looked fine to me. I have no comments on it. I felt like there were more than 17 members, 17 people in.
That was it?
When
Yeah.
you take us into consideration and the staff of BFJ,
Yeah.
sorry, Chris, that 17 members.
Seemed like there were more there.
Yeah, I thought there were like 25.
Maybe people trickled in and out, but when I did a head
Yeah.
count, I actually got 16. And then maybe some people came in, somebody, meandered in and out.
But as the start of an interactive process, it looks like, our BFJ,
Yep.
has a procedure that's going to allow interaction with a wide swath of the town, should they choose to participate.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean, it's, now, how many different ways can you reach out?
exactly. We can't go in and put a notice on everyone's refrigerator, but as these things progress and neighbors tell neighbors, they say, oh, well, this is what it was, we want, you to come out as well. I think we'll get more and more as the,
26.
yeah, yeah.
What you could do, you could say, we're gonna discuss Stu Leonard coming to town, and you'll get
I'm
thousands.
sure everyone
And then now that everybody's here, help us with our
Yeah,
plan.
we've gotta drop keywords in there to get attendance.
I think Mr. Fish brought it up, to get work.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, then, a motion to approve the, November 13th minutes?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstention. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith abstains, okay. All right, next item on our agenda is old business. The one topic I was gonna mention was the special meeting, see what everybody's impressions were on that. They've already covered it, but, any further comment on the,
Listen,
I thought they were prepared. I thought Mr. Fish made a reasonable presentation. I thought the people who were there, they were pretty active, actually. There were 3 or 4 members of the public that were, asking questions.
yeah,
I thought it went, for a first-time thing,
Yeah.
went pretty well.
yeah, I felt like it went well, and, some good questions when we got to our question and answer period.
And then, I found it interesting that it was really a synopsis of what's in the existing 10-year plan. Excerpted out, put on a bumper sticker for people, and do you still agree or disagree with this?
Right.
Which it seems like starting at the beginning, for the next plan.
And they did provide us with a summary yesterday, so I'll be sending that around to the board members.
Good.
The summary, yeah, I'm curious to see what the summary says. The summary of the actual
Of
meeting.
the workshop.
Feedback.
It doesn't
Well, the-
really go into too many results, because obviously it's a small group that we're going off of.
Right.
But they kind of, it was minutes, but also a small breakdown of, you know, what was the end result of the boards.
Yeah.
So I think we actually ended up noticing a lot of the red stickers were pretty consistent throughout the boards on certain topics.
Right.
So it's not like a full breakdown summary, this is what we noticed. I think it was just an overview of the meeting, and by the way, here's the information that we gathered.
So,
Still a little early for,
in an effort to try to disseminate and keep the public up to date without going nutty about it, is it something that we should discuss here when we get it? So that at least we bring it to the public's attention, to the
absolutely.
three or
and-
four
and
people that listen to
Quite
us?
honestly, I was gonna put it on the town website too.
Yeah, good.
So people can see,
Okay.
read the breakdown themselves, yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty concise, I mean, it's a 10,
Yeah, I
12
was thinking.
page, yeah, it's nothing too major. So definitely something we can make available for them.
So are you thinking about having a, for want of a better description, sort of a file folder where you drop in these things as we accumulate them over time? So that someone can open a file that says, you know,
Right.
Plan of Conservation and Development 2025.
Where we're at so far.
Yeah, and then they open it up and it's like, you know, chronological. like-
Absolutely. I think for the public, kind of what I'm doing is keeping it current, where, you know, now that we're past our first workshop, I could take the flyer for the first workshop off of the town website and put up, you know, the new pertinent information that were, you know, the next step. I certainly have all of the files, you know, saved. If anyone said, hey, I'm late to this, I'm starting halfway through, can you give me everything from day one until now so I can catch up with it? I absolutely can provide that. You know, online, I don't really have an open folder, like throw, you know, every piece of documentation in there, but definitely, you know, keeping an order on it, and if people do need that information, they can reach out. So then I'm gonna start putting the survey on there that, you know, Frank spoke about.
Right.
You know, and all the other information that's gonna be coming out. But that summary will be up there.
All right. All right, good. Anything else on our special meeting? Okay. Anything else under old business? Judy, Kevin? All right, under new business, and item number 3 on our agenda. Probably should bring up at this point the, I don't know if you've seen, yeah, that memorandum. This is, you know, memorandum from the first selectman to the Plan and Zoning Commission, and I guess the selectmen held a meeting, and they were addressed by Stacy Johnson, Director of Community Services, and Chantel Bunnell, Youth Services and Prevention Coordinator for the Town of Orange. And they voted that they ought to refer to the Plan and Zoning Commission the question of regulating, the possibility of regulating smoke and vape shops.
They're actually looking
For us to put a moratorium on it, no?
Yeah, and, you know, I guess, you know, the moratorium would allow us time to study the question of how we might regulate smoke and vape
What are the
shops.
parameters of putting on a
Right.
moratorium?
Well, or starting at the beginning,
Yeah,
wouldn't you have to define
smoke and
what a
vape shop.
smoke and vape shop is?
Fair enough.
Because,
Yeah,
I mean, gas stations sell cigarettes.
right,
Right.
For all I know, they're
Right.
selling some of this product.
yeah.
You know, at what point does somebody dispensing, you know, products that might be legal
Right.
cross a line into now it's a category without some sort of definition? You know,
Well, I think,
I mean, we could walk into one, you know, and if it floats, it's a duck, right? But
Yeah, so even if their main source of revenue is smoke and vape, there may be hundreds of other items that they smell which would, you know, make the percentage smaller then, you know, I don't know if their gross income, half of it's gonna be
Yeah,
from.
when does
smoking vape.
when does it become a convenience store?
Yeah, well,
Without some sort of,
A gas station sells pretty much all of the same items that one of.
Right.
I think what they're targeting here, like I said, a gas
Exclusively.
station sells.
Oh, oh,
Gas
really?
stations they sell vapes, they sell tobacco products.
So
Pretty much
can we-
anything that you would find in, I think, one of the stores that they're more targeting.
Right.
That are for the
Just
smoke shops
specific.
that we kind of imagine. Your gas station sells as well.
So is
So I
there,
think the definition is definitely a good thing.
is there any precedent for us to be able to do anything like that?
We absolutely, I mean, we could
Yeah.
absolutely install a moratorium. That is definitely within
I mean,
the
we've done that
jurisdiction of the
before.
On,
commission, yes.
the moratorium on the
On
products or the
Right,
store?
Or on
That
the
exi-
stores, again, the
That's what the
definition.
definition is gonna have to come into. So I
right,
think
so
if-
it would seem like we would have to know what we would have to have something we're regulating towards.
well, that would come when we held a public hearing on the question of whether there ought to be a moratorium. I'm not, I don't think we're talking about, installing a moratorium tonight. What we're talking about doing is,
Start the process.
yeah, and, you know, I think we probably all have some idea of, you know, what a smoke and vape shop is and what products are sold there. I don't know that we know to whom those products are sold for the most part, but anyway, I think what the Board of Selectmen are looking for is for us to take a look at the question. And is this something we ought to be regulating in the town of Orange? And I think that, you know, if we started by,
Telling Jack to go see other towns and what they've done.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, but when
Which
we.
they have.
They have.
Milford just did this 2 months ago, in
If we-
September.
If
they
we
came out
hold,
with this.
you know, if we hold a public hearing on the question of whether we ought to, you know, establish a moratorium for a period of time during which we can decide, I mean, we may, you know, at that public hearing, we'll hear testimony that will answer the questions, you know, we have, you know, as to smoke and vape.
So we don't necessarily.
We don't necessarily need to define our terms before we have a public hearing?
I don't think it makes sense to regulate it until we know what it is.
Oh, no, I don't,
Yeah.
100% with that. I'm just curious.
I mean,
if-
we may hear testimony that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're absolutely shocked by, and we may regulate it by saying it's prohibited. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's possible. I don't know that, though.
Right, I think if the board decides to move in the direction of installing a moratorium, it could be done in several ways. I mean, we could amend our zoning regulations to include this language, and with that amendment would come a proposed definition. So as we go through the public hearing process, we can workshop what that definition is or is not.
So what is the intent, well, it's probably not a good way to say it, but when we let the public know what this public hearing is about, how do we phrase it?
Again, just my thought
Yeah.
would be, if we decide today that we want to explore this
Yeah.
option, we'd say to Vinnie, you know, draft up some language for us to go over, and then we would take a look at it, say, all right, we like this language, we're gonna start our noticing to the regional planning authorities and to the paper for our public hearing, and then at that public hearing, we see what people like or don't like. I think that yes,
No,
if we decide to go that
no, I
route, we
mean,
knock on Vinnie's door.
I think the idea behind the moratorium is to just, you know, not do anything further until we've heard evidence.
Yeah, my concern.
Was opening, when we're talking about getting public input, I want to give them a guide to what this hearing is going to be about, okay? And it's to explore a potential moratorium on products regarding
Well-
smoking, I mean,
Or the
Well,
shops.
It's gotta be the
outlets.
use, because we don't regulate products. Right?
it's got to be the use.
It's gotta be the use. So eventually, we have to segregate it from the Scar Lounge. You have to segregate it from a gas station. You know, I mean, anecdotally, we all
Well,
kind of know what
do we-
it is.
Do we not or can we not regulate products?
I mean, what, in our zoning, what other legal products other than cannabis have we regulated?
And we
Hand
regulate
grenades.
cannabis establishments.
Yeah, and we
Right.
regulated
we're-
the
yeah,
establishment.
Yeah, I think Kevin is correct there. I don't
The
know
use,
of any
not the
product
product.
that we.
So now we're
regulate.
back to, does the fact that a gas station that has 1,000 products and sells 10 of them of vaping or so forth, does that put it into the smoke shop category?
I think that depends on our definition.
okay.
We have to have some language that either separates gas stations or includes them in whatever way we see fit.
Right.
You know, and everyone keep in mind that what's existing today can obviously stay. I tallied after, a
Yep.
discussion with Ozzy this morning, we have 5 active smoke shops, and this is the traditional smoke shops that you and I think of, when we do that, and we have 2 cigar shops, cigar lounges, whatever.
Without regard to the gas stations, for lack of a better word, because there are a ton of those, right?
Convenience.
This is not including convenience store gas
Where they can
stations.
buy the product.
These are stores that are marketed towards smoking products.
How about, and are smoking, I mean, I guess I should know this, but are smoking products in supermarkets and such?
I don't think anymore. I don't
don't
think
know.
you could buy tobacco, and I could be wrong about this too. I don't think you can buy tobacco products at a standard grocery store anymore.
So our universe is really the, not Thornton's, what's it called, these guys, Krauser-type stores, the
Gas
gas
stations,
stations,
convenience
and the
stores.
smoke shops.
In smoke shops specifically, yeah.
I mean, I think that this is certainly worthwhile of our intention to start the notice process and the public discussion. If it's, as, Jim says, or as we've observed, basically, everybody who used to, smoke cigarettes is now doing this and thinking, oh, this is fine.
Well, it's not as bad.
It's not as bad, and yet they're kids.
Right.
And they shouldn't, be
So,
doing it.
are we aware of any state regulations that, is there an age restriction as to who can buy product at one of these shops?
Yeah, I think for most smoke shops, you have to be 21 now to walk in the
21,
door. I think so. I think most tobacco products are 21 now in Connecticut and Massachusetts. So technically,
And that's vaping products?
that technically should be vaping as well,
Okay.
to my knowledge. I'm not sure if vaping and cigarettes are seen differently, but I'm almost certain it's 21 now.
So the next step is
To task Jack to talk to Vinnie to get us a statement as to what the public hearing is going to be and when it's going to be and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think that the moratorium would be a possible step one. To take, the first step in studying the question of whether or not we wish to regulate this type of business in the town of Orange. I mean, we may decide ultimately that it's not something that, that we think is worthwhile, or necessary to regulate. The moratorium just gives us some time. I mean, 3 more could open up, while we're talking about
Right.
regulating it. And I don't know, that's sort of, that's what the moratorium, I think,
Right.
avoids.
So the first step toward a moratorium is,
Vinnie will draft something up for us to look at. If we want to hold a public hearing before or if we want to hold a meeting for public input, we can do that before the public hearing,
No,
or if we.
no.
Yeah, I figured we just
No,
put this
the
right to public hearing.
What generates or what causes us to have to hold a public hearing is the amendment to the zoning regulations that would impose the moratorium.
Right. I'm not sure if, let's say we go with a year, if a year moratorium will be an amendment to our regulations.
No.
Yeah,
That's the study time. That's when we say no more applications, we want to review.
Right,
And then we may decide to amend the regulation.
yeah, I mean, we may write a regulation.
Right.
We could limit it, the way state law limits package stores. They can't be within a certain number of feet of each other, a place of worship, a school, or whatever, I don't know. I mean, we don't know enough right now
Right.
to be able to do anything. The moratorium gives us time, prevents them from popping up, while we're thinking about this. And, I don't think it needs to be, I don't think it needs to be a year long,
No, that was just an example.
Or
Yeah,
6
whatever-
months
yeah,
even.
No, just an example.
But I would envision that the people that went to, talk to the Board of Selectmen would show up at our public hearing.
Of course.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure many others will.
On the
as well.
moratorium and give us good reason to impose the moratorium.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would have been nice to hear from them when we were thinking about cannabis.
Didn't hear from anyone
Same
then, right?
thought, yeah.
And obviously, I think this movement is geared towards the youth, making sure that school-age kids aren't obviously using these products, so I think that's obviously the driving factor here.
So, yeah, the moratorium is actually an amendment to the regulations. That's the way I've seen us do it in the past.
No, we're not amending, we're studying.
Maybe.
No, it amends the regulations to say the use is not permitted for a certain period of time.
Is that I think that
Judy's getting it. I don't think we amend the regulations to say that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I haven't been here for moratorium, so I don't want to speak.
I think it
Definitively.
does, Paul.
Does it?
I think
Okay.
there's actually, what Vinnie would draft is language amending the regulations.
For however long.
It's effectively a text change that says
Yeah.
that is gonna terminate after a certain period of time.
Okay, but it,
Oh, yeah, it will.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, but during the period of the moratorium,
It's part of
we're
the
not
regulations.
accepting any
gosh,
applications
okay,
Okay.
for new.
It's noticed
Mechanics
to,
are,
yeah.
are text change.
Yeah.
I believe so,
I
yeah.
think it is. I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
not
I
sure.
think that sounds right to me as well, obviously, we'll.
Vinnie
hear
can
from
take a
Vinnie.
look at that, but, it's not anything complicated to draft. And I would think that, well, we probably have something that, we only have one meeting in December.
Correct, yeah, first meeting of December.
That may be a little,
If Vinnie can get us language to at least look at for that meeting, that'd be great, so I can start the noticing.
well, then we can send it to a public hearing.
Exactly, yeah, it's gonna take a month,
January.
I need a month worth of noticing anyways.
Right.
So if we can agree on language by December 4th, don't quote me on that date, but whenever our first meeting of December would be, or December 3rd?
Third.
The 3rd, yeah, December
So-
3rd.
So we would hold a hearing on the moratorium question. And, if we felt that the evidence was sufficient to suggest that we ought to put the moratorium in place, we would. And then we would study the question and, see what other towns are doing, look at other,
I'm sure Milford had differentiate between gas stations and
Right, so
smoke
I
shops too.
was gonna suggest,
Yeah.
sooner than later, reach out to your
Absolutely.
CEO in Milford, learn about the process, learn about how, the length of time,
yeah, are you?
and what was the outcome. Well, they're in a moratorium now.
Right. That's just it's a retail, use. So it's permitted as of right.
Anywhere that any other
Well, I
retail
mean,
uses.
maybe it's something we would wanna ultimately permit only by special permit.
Mhm.
Or, again, as I said before, or prohibit, I don't know. Or, allow
Well,
it
that's
to
why we have the moratorium in many public hearings to do the study.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that's what the selectmen are asking for. It would be up to us ultimately to amend the regulations. Or, that is to regulate smoke and vape shops. So that's why I think this referral is being made to us. So no need for a vote at this point.
No,
Just,
no need for a vote, I think we'll
I
talk
think-
with
I
Vinnie
think-
and hopefully next time we convene, we'll have something to look at.
Yeah. But, makes sense to take a look at it, of course.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else under new business? Okay, how about a report from our zoning enforcement officer?
I don't have anything for you tonight. We went over, I try not to do that. No, we went over the workshop. I'm hoping in the future we have a lot more, you know.
Applications.
Or attendees of the workshop. But, no, other than that, I don't have much for you.
All right. All right, then the last item on our agenda this evening is a bond release request submitted by Mike Romano for property known as 235 Boston Post Road. And this is to release the bond for completed site work. You want to, you're the applicant? Yeah, come on up to the podium. If you would, introduce yourself.
Mike Romano with Racebrook Medical Center.
Okay, so, just want to be sure, this building is, just
The new
completed-
medical
Yeah,
center.
the new medical building. Is there anything we need from the applicant, or?
No, on our end, I've been to the site multiple times. Site work is definitely complete. Minor changes here and there that the owner cleared with me first, small landscaping things that they adjusted from the initial approval. Other than that, no major changes. Everything was installed according to plan.
How's the sign?
Was that?
The sign?
Sounds pretty good, right? No?
It's the best sign on the Post Road. I think that came out pretty well, yeah. We
Yeah,
talked about it a
I
lot.
think
It
so
came out
as
pretty
well, right. In Hartford Healthcare is in there now, Connecticut Orthopedic is in there now.
Yeah.
Hartford Healthcare is their second floor tenant, they're starting work now. So still work going on inside the building.
Right.
But site work wise, complete.
Yep.
I think it looks pretty good, too.
All right, very good. So the cash bond is 32,000. Any questions of the applicant? Okay, then is someone prepared to move that we release the bond?
So moved?
All right, we have a motion to release the bond. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Both
Aye.
bonds.
Is it both bonds?
This one,
I see just
no,
the cash.
just one for right now, and
cash
I'll go
bond.
into that in a
Sorry.
second. Yep.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And nobody abstained. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody says no.
There was a performance bond here too, and I worked with Mike on this issue. The surety company that offered it knew that the CO was issued for partial of the building, and the site work was reasonably complete. So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they said, well, you don't need the bond anymore, we're going to be canceling this. And I said, that's a big problem on my end. What if I disagreed with that? What if I still, had a big problem with the site? Luckily, that was not the situation here, but in the future, I think what I'm gonna do is have a town template for bonds, saying this is the language we absolutely need, because I've never had this problem before. I've never had a lender cancel a bond without the permission of the town or some confirmation that, the work that was bonded has been complete.
Right.
So in the future, I think it might be something I'll run by Vinnie too. Make sure that either we have a one form for bonds that everyone uses instead of, whatever their lender gives them, but making sure that that is not possible.
I thought that the town was named as a holder of the bond.
It was, and that was my kind of
And
confusion with
they-
it as well.
So they couldn't clear it without you signing it.
That was my and the language in there has us as the obligee of the bond, and that was my understanding too, which is why I was completely lost as kind of to when we started this conversation about the bond. And again, it luckily was not that situation, we would have had the cash bond to do any, work outstanding that we needed.
Is there a performance bond still in place?
There is none, because the lender canceled the
Canceled it.
bond a few months
So
ago.
they didn't renew the bond.
They didn't renew the bond
Without notice to the town?
without notice to the town.
Yeah. I've never. heard
No,
that
I'm sorry,
before.
they sent us notice saying that they are not renewing.
Right.
They didn't send us a notice saying, is everything, because that's how I made aware of it. I called Mike and I said, listen, why did I get a notice saying that your lender is not renewing this bond? It's up to the town to release this bond and when we say the work has been completed. That was not the case here, and I want to be very careful moving forward that doesn't happen again.
Are we requiring a bond to be put in place?
Of
Or-
course, absolutely,
Okay.
yes, we have requirements that the bond be posted, but obviously, there's no way that a lender should be able to cancel or not renew a bond.
The
the whole-
bond,
without-
that's the whole point.
Hope-
Yeah,
having it,
exactly.
Right,
Well,
the bond
that's
is
the point,
It's
but-
conditioned on completion of certain.
Yes, but
Exactly. I
but
think if
you
I
also
turn-
pay a premium for a specific time frame. And when that time frame clicks, you have to pay additional premium. So if that time frame was
The-
clicking,
When you say you have to pay, not the town,
the applicant.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
applicant.
right, but I'm just saying that,
As long
you
as it
know,
remains in place, I don't need,
right, but,
Yeah.
so say there was a month to go,
Right.
and they just didn't do their paperwork, it would have,
And what's our
Ended
what's our
without-
remedy? Is that a cease and desist?
That's, I gotta be honest, I don't know whether we would be trying to fight the lender and say, no, that's not legal, or the applicant saying, listen, you didn't renew, you are
It's gotta be
required
with
to
the
have.
applicant,
That's,
right?
that's kinda where I'm leaning too.
Because
I think-
our only relationship is with the applicant.
Exactly, and this is something that happened a month before they submitted their release request. So it was,
and we had our core and shell CO in April.
right, the bottom level was,
it's all done.
yeah.
yeah.
But again, still something that I, was
Right. So-
completely taken off guard for, and I agree, I think it's something we would end up taking up with the applicant.
Right.
You didn't renew the bond, we require it.
So Jack,
Mm-hmm.
when I ran into this working on the other side, okay? The municipalities kept a reminder file that said, that the applicant, the surety company had to send you a reminder like X months out from the natural termination so that you could reach out to the applicant. And by the way, this is all gonna go away. You're just an example right now. So that, so that you would reach out to the applicant and go, hey, we haven't signed off on this yet. You
Right.
need to renew this for another 6 months. Or something.
Yeah, I
Okay.
completely agree.
But without that sort of notice provision,
Yeah, but that notice that comes from the surety.
yes, to the holder,
It has to be given.
Yes.
It has to be given to the town.
yes.
They sent us a notice of non-renewal.
Renewal.
But I didn't know that the applicant never renewed. So it would be on us to go after the applicant and say, listen, you are no longer meeting the requirements of a site plan application. I haven't given you the sign off or agreed that your bond is complete. We are putting a stop order on your project
Future work, yeah.
for anything, because you're currently operating outside of our parameters.
Right.
So that would be our recourse, so talking through it, that definitely makes more sense.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, that before you got that notice of non-renewal, which happened when it expired.
Right.
You get it,
Like it's going to
you
expire
get
in a month.
something ahead
Yeah,
of time.
I guess my only hangup on that is, it's on the applicants to renew. If I get a cutoff on a bond,
So,
That
In the-
doesn't-
no, and I see what you're saying, but they're the ones with the bond who need to get the work done.
I understand, sir, but who do we count on? Do we count on people who have an economic interest in not spending more money? Or do we count on the surety talking to the guy who works with us to say,
Yeah.
hey, applicant, do your job?
No, but I mean, supposing the applicant were in bankruptcy and was not gonna be able to finish the project.
Right.
The bond is available to the town so that the town could finish the project.
Correct.
You'd pull it before it terminates,
Expired.
Right.
which is why you would want to know before it happened.
There's a
Yeah, but there's
requirement
nothing-
in the
so once it
application.
expires, then
Absolutely,
we're out
yes,
of
our
luck.
Oh,
regulations
yeah,
say
SOL.
on
bond.
the
I
site
don't think
plans.
so.
Right.
Forget about
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And so for the future work with this building, for Hartford Healthcare, we're requiring the bond.
Well, no, so this, because we have only the site work for bond,
Oh,
the
okay, so
only
that's
remaining
done.
work for here is internal with the building department.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Yeah. So for the purposes of this project, thankfully, it was not an issue, but it brought an issue to my attention where in the future, I will reach out to these lenders and let them know that they need to renew and obviously make the applicants aware that they cannot continue to work if they let this lapse before the bonded, site work has been completed.
Application, there's a requirement, you bring to their attention that there is a bond requirement, and then you also maybe add a line that says, in the event the bond, is
Right.
not in place,
Yeah.
work will immediately cease.
This bond must be renewed. Yeah,
Until the
until,
site-
yeah,
the site work's
gotcha.
complete, right.
Yeah, I could definitely look into that too.
I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Well, that's 100%. That's why I was a little, confused when I saw it, and I called Mike right away. And again, luckily for this one, it was not the big deal, but it had me thinking for the future in a discussion that I was, gonna bring up here. So,
Okay, I think we're all set.
We beat you enough.
Well, none of this was about you anyway.
Sorry.
Well, okay. All right.
Yeah, I gotta look at that further, I think there's a little more to it than that,
Well, there should be a bond in place until we release it.
right?
I
The
think
bond
what-
is conditioned on completion of
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
And that bond should be available to us.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure bonds are like for 1 year, they're for a specific thing, the completion of this work. But they're not for an indefinite time duration.
So when they
Yeah.
purchase
So
the
you're,
bond,
they purchase the
buy it
bond
for a timeframe,
to bond a certain amount of money for a certain
certain amount
time
of time.
frame.
And if they
Yeah.
need more time,
They have to pay more premium. So what they
But
did
what
is
if
they
don't?
effectively
What if they
avoid,
don't or they can't?
then the bond
Then
goes
we're out of
away.
luck.
and then we're not
Yeah,
covered.
we're out of luck if we didn't shut down the project and force
Before we
them to
knew
comply.
the bond was done.
Right,
And make a claim on the bond.
yeah.
To complete
I'm
the
pretty
work
sure.
ourselves, yeah. Well, that
But-
would make some sense.
Yeah, but, ask an actual attorney.
Where?
Not here.
Or the finance director might have some,
yeah, it might. I know
Better
other
understanding.
towns run into this problem too. Like, some towns are really, really specific with who you can get your bond from, the language that is in the bond.
well, that may be the case in Orange.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And
I
I
mean,
think,
I don't have a template.
no, but I think the finance director might.
Okay,
I think that would,
You were given notice, it was just a question of, it was, it blindsided
it
you.
wasn't, hey, this is going away in 3 months. It was, in a few days, this is
Oh,
gonna be
usually they
terminated.
have like a 30-day or.
Yeah, I would have to go back and
Yeah,
look,
okay.
I can't say I remember off the top of my head, but it was enough where, I was alarmed and immediately contacted the applicant. He was kind of just as confused as I was, but I was like, there's some disconnect here, because the bond is active for as long as you pay, and, it was pretty darn close to finish, so, maybe they said, oh, it's gonna be done by then, we'll take that risk. But on the town's end, I was, perturbed about it, for sure.
I would check with the finance director.
Will do.
All right, that's our agenda for this evening.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you very much. Next meeting, December,
Because I was running late, so I'm like, who should I text? Who?
Tuesday, December.
That's how we confuse the people.
all right, Tuesday, December 3rd, the only meeting in December.